So we have been monitoring and tracking the free agent frenzy in the NFL. A lot of deals getting done. Somebody who didn't really want a deal done, they wanted to be sent elsewhere because they weren't happy with the situation and wanted to play for a contender, was Myles Garrett. We touched on this a little bit earlier. He reportedly wanted to have a meeting with Jimmy Haslem. Jimmy Haslem declined that meeting. That came out on Friday. And the thought was, gosh, how could you? LaVar and I kind of, ate Jimmy Haslem alive and just said, at least, have a conversation with the guy. You don't know what can happen. And all of a sudden, 2 days later, he gets a monster contract done with the Cleveland Browns. All is well as long as you shell out a little bit of cash. And the deal and the details for Myles Garrett, 4 years, $160 million, $123 million guaranteed. So
do y'all feel like that report put unnecessary pressure on Haslem? Like, there had to have been something behind the scenes more going on for them to end up going from we're not talking to 150 million. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Right. No, it did. I mean, think about it. They're already in cap hell because of the Deshaun Watson trade, and that was all Jimmy Haslem's doing. Meanwhile, you're watching Baker Mayfield have success with the Tampa Bay Bucks and thinking to yourself, we could have just kept that guy. And by the way, for a lot less. So that was on Jimmy Haslem. It's one of the worst, I would say, like storylines that's trying to get swept under the rug because people want to try to draw attention away from it. But it's been an absolute disaster for the franchise. So now you have a guy who has been nothing but the epitome of everything you had hoped for as the number one overall pick to your franchise. And you've pushed him so far that he's even making statements like, I don't feel like this organization's committed to winning and all this stuff, right? So to your point, like I do think it brought Jimmy Haslem back to the forefront. The fact that Myles Garrett tried to meet with him and it was reported that, Haslem didn't want to, which I guess it doesn't matter at that point because he was frustrated he had to offer him a 4-year, $160 million contract. And so now everyone looks at Jimmy Haslem as saying, well, he may not try to build a franchise to go win a Super Bowl, but he'll pay these guys really well. Like, that's the one thing you know about good old Jimmy. I mean, maybe that's more the reputation he feels like he's building or the frustration behind it. It's hard to understand exactly. I mean, you can understand why Myles Garrett got the contract. He's still in that window of time where he's one of the best, if not the best, defensive player in the NFL. He is a cornerstone of your defense. He's one of the most important pieces of your team. So signing him to this contract is not surprising given how the salary cap has continued to go up, given that Jimmy Haslem has deep pockets. And if Myles Garrett's not there, to me, there would be a mass exodus of guys saying, I don't think I want to be here either then. If our best player, one of our leaders, isn't going to be here either. So there was a lot of pressure on Jimmy Haslem to do something. And ultimately it ended up being what, owners with deep pockets do. They just shell out more money, make Myles Garrett happy. I think the more interesting part of this was this just all about money for Myles Garrett? Because if it was, like, why are you dragging the team through the mud like that then? Why do you make the comments initially talking about the organization not wanting to being successful? Like, yeah, we get that. Like, trust me, I grew up a Browns fan. Like, I understand that. I was drafted there. I get it. Granted, different ownership, but we can talk about all the different things that, the Cleveland Browns organization isn't compared to every other organization that I was able to play for. But the real question comes down to with Myles Garrett. It was just about money. Is that all it was with the way this whole thing worked out?
That's what it kind of comes across as. I mean,
do big deals like that come together? Do they come together in 2 days?
I just feel like there had to have been something more going on behind the scenes versus what was reported. I just feel like you can't. How do you get to there from what was being reported?
One of the, I guess the portions of the story that came out was that Haslem told Myles Garrett, "You've got to talk to Andrew Berry. Like, don't talk to me, talk to Andrew Berry." And that leads me to believe that maybe this was about getting the contract done, and they were already having conversations and already having discussions. And if you're by the way, if you're a Browns fan, That's why when the story came out that he wanted to be traded, and Stefanski and Andrew Berry spoke about it at the Combine and said, no, we plan on him being here. Like, I don't know how how the Deshaun Watson stuff is gone, how, if you're a Browns fan, you would have felt about the organization if, and by the way, we traded away Myles Garrett.
But that might have been the conversations that were taking place all along, because Stefanski didn't flinch when he said it. He said, we plan on keeping him. Which means that there's the possibility that those conversations were taking place all along. I mean, to me, first let me say this. If I'm Myles Garrett and I'm in Cleveland, yes, it's all about the money. It's all about the money at this point.
What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah, DK Metcalf said the same thing about Pittsburgh.
If I'm Myles Garrett,
take that.
If I'm Myles Garrett, I'm all about the money in Cleveland.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, I mean, how many times have they won the Super Bowl?
Oh, jeez.
What?
All I heard was the same thing for DK Metcalf.
Okay, but how many?
Been a while.
How many Super Bowls have
been a while?
It has been a while.
I have
but at least
won a Super Bowl.
At least
It's been a while.
At least the coach in Pittsburgh is the recipient of one of them Lombardi trophies.
Since we won
you also been trying to push it out.
Game.
I'm not trying to push Mike Tomlin out. Y'all tripped out, man. Y'all good?
Since we had some production at quarterback.
Why are you trying to sing?
It's
We
been
know
a while.
you tried that already. It didn't work out for you.
Damn!
That's why you ended up doing radio.
Oh, don't do that. That's mean.
Come on.
That's mean.
I'm just saying.
He
That was
ain't lying.
mean-spirited.
He ain't lying.
All I'm saying is, how do you go from no conversation to 150?
All I know is Jimmy Haslam's got money. Like, that's the other thing I'll take away from this. He gets $123.5 million guaranteed of the 140. And, given the escrow rules, these owners, when you put up guaranteed monies, that money goes out your bank account and into escrow, man. It goes bye-bye. And you already had a $230 million fully guaranteed deal with Deshaun Watson.
Jeez.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, some of these owners, there's different levels to this.
There would have been a lot more going bye-bye had they not signed Myles Garrett.
Well, think about this. Like, let's just compare and contrast. And look, I know people in Ohio know I'm a Browns fan of the Bengals and all that. I can't help but make this comparison. Your organization right now, if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, is working on a long-term deal with Jamar Chase. Okay? You had to franchise tag T. Higgins. You have to let Trey Hendrickson go.
Which is stupid.
It's crazy. And we talked about this. Like, if you go back over that span of period of time, I think, what is it, the 6 years or whatever it's been, the Bengals have signed one player outside of Joe Burrow over like $40 million per year. Like the Eagles have signed 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was some ridiculous stat we saw. So every single time you hear a team say, yeah, we don't have the money to do it. Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Like, both Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow signed their extensions in 2023. And again, since then, the Eagles have signed 8 players over contracts of $40 million. The Bengals have signed one player. It's just like, this is an example of, to me, there are some issues, there's some problems going on. All right, we've got an owner with deep pockets. We're just going to give him the highest average annual value for a non-quarterback in the league. Okay, cool. I'll take that. That'll make me feel better about things.
I mean, Jimmy Haslem doing that with Deshaun Watson is wild, though. Like, you make that move on a guy. I mean, I know he was at the height of I guess, of what you could say would lend to you justify.
I can't believe you say that,
but he wasn't.
He wasn't.
I agree. I was trying.
Yeah,
I was trying.
There's no
God. I was trying. Like, I don't understand why they would make that. I can't understand why they.
Watson was.
I mean, it's going to be forever. I would assume. I don't think. Dang. I don't think it's going to change. But
Something.
I if I'm Myles Garrett, you got to pay me if I'm staying in Cleveland, because I just know we're strapped having Deshaun Watson. And I'm going to continue to play here. I'm going to finish out here. At least make it so that I can put some of this money back into my community and say, look at what Myles Garrett is doing for the community.
There was a report that Garrett was at a Cavs game or something and got booed when they put him up. There was not a very warm welcome. And there was a thought that maybe that happened to persuade him to sign back. I was like, yeah. I'm sure that persuaded him more than the $40 million per year. Yeah.
Look, I do commend him for trying to sell people on the Super Bowl's the most important thing for about, 2-3 weeks.
The Super Bowl has to be the most important thing to your organization,
for 2-3 weeks, that was like priority A.
I'm not going to hold him. I'm not going to hold him.
Then he went to New Orleans. He was like, this place stinks.
Yeah.
He wants to go play a Super Bowl here anyway.
Come on. I kind of like having my winters off.
Yeah.
Dang.